Hey, everybody, it's me, Mark Wiggins. Welcome to Off the Bench Spotlight, where we feature spotlight people that I find interesting that I want to know more about, and hopefully you'll want to know about them as well. Make sure you are subscribing to the magazine, offthebenchmagazine.com, for all of our issues. We have the Women of Power issue coming out for the February-March issue. As you know, now we're a bi-monthly magazine, not monthly. Should be a great issue. Got a lot of powerful people in the magazine, a lot of great stories. We also have a new author in our author's corner who is our conversation piece tonight. And we have with us Mr. Jamar Henry. Jamar, what's happening?
I'm good. I'm good and blessed.
I see
Glad
you
to be here.
I
Appreciate
see you over there, big brother. I see you over there taking up the whole screen with them biceps and quads and everything. So I guess we're talking about fitness and stuff tonight, right?
you. Somewhat. We can get into that. We could delve into that a little bit.
Absolutely. So, Jamar, I don't do bios. I like to have the guests tell us what they want to know about themselves. So why don't you take this time to introduce yourself and tell the people who you are and what you want them to know?
Well, my name is Jamar. I'm from Chicago, so that's where I guess I start my bio at. I moved out here 5 years ago, not knowing anybody, and I came out here chasing the dream of my writing. I wrote over 10 books while doing a federal prison sentence of 22 years for 5 grams of crack cocaine. I was given clemency, and I came straight out to California because I felt God told me to go west. So that's where you can find your believers. So while I was incarcerated all those years, I wrote 10 books. I found myself while I was in there. I took responsibility for my life, and now I ended up in California. I've been out for 5 years. So far, I've published 4 of those books, and I'm working on my 5th, which will be my half of my life story, called The Revolving Doors. And that's pretty much.
Now you're out here. Where is out here? You said you were.
I'm in Orange County right now. Orange County, California.
Okay, most definitely. So talk to a little bit about your early lifestyle. What led you? You said you get with 5 grams of crack. And you got 25 years. Is that what you said?
22 years.
22
I did
years.
16. I ended up getting clemency on my last year from Obama.
Wow. So what led you during that time period to get into writing?
Right. When I got into writing, writing started a long time ago. But I kind of lost myself in the streets. That's something I wanted to do. But then the streets, like I wanted to play football, but the streets had first draft pick in my life. You know what I'm saying? So I into the streets. I was selling drugs, and it wasn't for me. God kept putting me in. I kept being stubborn. I kept going in and out. I kept being stubborn. Then finally, I realized, and that's when I started writing, that I can do more. Like I had better options. I felt I didn't have no options. I thought selling drugs was my only way. People don't know that drug dealing is an addiction as well as using.
Oh, talk a little bit more about that. I don't think I've heard anybody say that before. I know some people who've been in and out of the game, but I've never heard that part.
No, that's because they're never going to address that.
Okay.
Drug dealing is an addiction, just like you are impaled on a sword, just like the addict is. You're both stabbing each other. You're both stuck in that life because you don't believe you have any other options. So you might say, I'm going to get out tomorrow, but you won't because you're addicted. You might get your head cracked, go to jail, get 5 years, say, I'll never sell drugs again. 2 weeks later, you back selling drugs because you're addicted. No, they don't ever address that. And if you try to address it, they're going to tell you you're wrong. That's something I found out by going through the system. It's something I talk about in my book that's coming up that's why it's called Revolving Doors.
Revolving Door.
Because the recidivism rate in prison is keep revolving because it's not a rehabilitation as they claim it. Call it what it is. Call it a prison. Don't say it's rehabilitation if you're not going to rehab people. And they don't want to do that. So we're going to make them, honor their word. If it's a rehabilitation, let's honor it. So, and that's what it's about because that's definitely something that needs to be addressed.
Now, you've mentioned your faith twice thus far, so it's like a strong man of faith, and after what you've been through, leaning on a higher power, God, whomever. When did you come to that realization of your enlightenment on religion?
I don't have a religion. I'm free spirited, and I always been that way. Like since a kid, I always never doubted there was a God in my presence, but I never really grew up in the church. I never grew up in a temple or nothing like that. But I was able to understand and get a understanding that it's all about how your actions is. So I've studied them all. I've been to church. I've been to the temple. I've been to them all. I'm free spirited. I believe in God. I believe in a higher power. you know.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, sometimes I find like that the institution of church kind of sometimes is no different than some other institutions. You know what I'm saying? They don't allow you to express yourself freely, or there's only one way to make this happen, or whatever. But reality is really your relationship with the higher power, my God, right? Our relationship with God and how we interact and where I'm trying to go, and then Him using me and my skill set, which gives me this platform, which gives me speaking, which puts me in front of thousands of people to talk about living and moving to an off the bench better lifestyle. Do you
Right.
find yourself now in more places to share your positive message about what's going on?
Like I said, I've been out for 5 years, and I came to Cali with nothing. So living the Cali lifestyle, you gotta balance the dream versus reality, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing was to get my category up, my catalog up, as far
Mm-hmm.
as transitioning my books that I read into books. So that took time, you know, and not knowing nobody out here. So I had to find a way to network and market because I am a personal trainer as well. So I had a product and a service coming out of jail after doing 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing was like, how can I meet people? So I started driving Uber. And I was like, man, I can meet people driving Uber, you know. Now I
Mm-hmm.
put a flyer back there and, you know, people would buy books or ask for training. But then I was like, I need to get their attention more better. So
Mm-hmm.
I put TVs back there. So my point is I started my own company. Like it's a marketing company where I have TVs in the back and I film commercials, not just for me, for anybody. Because I might pick up 270 people a week. That's 270 people that's going to see your product
Right.
right in their face. And they captivated for 5 or 10 to 30 minutes of seeing you. And if that's what they're looking for. So that's why I started my little marketing company. And that's where I'm at now. And I've been just getting out to the LA scene, like
Mm-hmm.
meet Tiffany. She's helping me out. I hired Tiffany to help me out to meet people in the network. And I met Dr. Lance in LA, Dr. Lance Silverfox. I don't know if you're familiar with him in
Mm-hmm.
LA. So they introducing me and I'm just getting out now.
Definitely.
Really.
Yeah, Tiffany Power is a powerhouse. We collab and co-join it in our magazine. That's how I met her. She came out with her Phoenix Fitness program and her magazine. And she's definitely the one who introduced me to you. Say, hey, you need to talk to this brother here. He got a real powerful message. And putting his books out here. So I appreciate it for the connection. And then that's what networking is for, right? To
Right.
find out different people, get some exposures. So that's what's awesome. So talk to me before we move into your books. I want a little bit more about you. Tell me more about your fitness and your training and how you got into it and why are you in it?
Okay. Like I said, drug dealing is a addiction. I had to find options while I was in jail. It wasn't about how I'm gonna do all this time. It was better like what you gonna do when you get out.
Mm,
Now, I could have sat there and been bitter, you know, or I can be better. I decided to be better. So
mm.
getting my personal trainer certification was something I got while I was in prison,
Oh
you
wow.
know. So as soon as I got out, I got a job at 24. And after 24 learning the floor game, I learned to get my own LLC, which is Real Challenge Fitness LLC. And what I do, I'm really like a comfortable personal trainer. That's what I do different. Like I'm coming to you, we can go to a park, we can go to a gym, we can go to a beach, we can hit up anywhere. I got equipment. Like I give up those options. Like it's just not one little place, you know.
Right.
So that's what I'm doing. And I got into it, like I said, when I was in prison, because I always used to do all the workout routines. I used to train everybody basically. And like now I'm going to try to do this when you get out, man. Give yourself an option. So and they helped me out since I've been out here.
I love it. I love it, man. Thank you for your transparency and sharing that your history and your journey to make you more of what you're trying to become. And that's going to show up, I'm sure, in your writing and your book and whatnot.
Yeah.
But let's talk about you in these books. And you said 10 books. I saw a couple of them. I saw Hell Night and Cold Game. Tell me about Hell's Night. You wrote that was one of your books. I like the cover on that
That's
one.
like my latest book. That's my latest book. It's a zombie book, basically almost a zombie book.
Hmm.
It's a step out of what I usually write, but it's something that I like to write. Um, I wanted to make sure I was comfortable in my writing, so it became my fourth book of writing.
Okay.
And it's basically about a guy named Skull and his wife. His wife is a medical student at this prestigious school in that's based in the Appalachian Mountains. Like it's a multi-billion-dollar school, and she's a surgical student there. She's like a genius, and he's going to pick her up because it's a blizzard that's going to hit. And when he get there, he end up getting trapped in the blizzard, so he has to stay at the school. Now, Skoll is a guy from Philly. He's a street guy. He's not with all this nonsense. This is different from him, so he's instantly weirded out. And before long, he's finding himself being chased by psychiatric demons that are like zombies. Their backstory is they was a town that came under a plague 100 years ago. And the man comes through with his medicine and he cures them, but they think they cured them. But then they end up having violence amongst themselves. Now, you know, this 100 years ago, this is wagon time. You know, they started killing each other and hearing visions and stuff. So he put the town under psycho lockdown, and the governor gave him, you know, permission and warden on for him. So he ended up taking him to a psych ward in the mountains, and that's where he would experiment on him and torture him. And then a story got out, so he sealed them in and covered it up, and that's what's in the bottom of this new medical facility. And they end up getting let out. So it's a large story, and that's what it's about. It's Skoll versus them. It's him protecting his family of his wife and his little newborn baby, and it's about 1,000 of them. He got to travel through tons.
You caught me with that one. I wasn't expecting 1,000. I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's over 100 years ago, and they kept, you know, birthing. It was more than just the town. It was just it was a long line of torture of souls. So
nice. What about Cold Game?
Cold Game is like my first book I wrote.
Okay.
And it was, I mean, my very first book of just saying, you know what, I'm finna write. And I wrote, and I didn't have no ending inside. I had no structure. I was just writing. And I ended up at the end came out with like 3 books. And it was just like a street novel, you know, in the streets telling you about the street game. But I was like, man, I don't want to be that normal. I need to change it up, and I need to add more bass to this. So I end up adding the supernatural abilities to it and connecting them to a different like world. That's why it's called Cold Game. It's 2 stories in one. The first story is like how God was created. It's like my theory on how God was created, and that story on how war interrupted and how it is now. And they like the same characters. That's why it's called Cold Game. So you got to piece them together. And it's a street novel, and it's really like an epic book. But when I wrote it, I figured that since it's based on the supernatural abilities and trying to get that audience, it was hard for me to reach. But I put it out anyway because I love the book. And that's when I started Black Ballerina, because I said, when I wrote Black Ballerina, I said, this story I can reach a better audience, which would be the Black female audience, and they like to read. So that's the book that I'm really pushing right now, and that's Black Ballerina. That's a part 1 and a part 2. It's a love story. It's based on, it's the twist of it. It's the girl is in prison and the guy is out story. It's a twist. The girl is like the street, and the guy is like I want to be in the NBA. I'm not a street dude, but he get caught in all her troubles. So it's based on that, and she's in prison, and she gets a cellmate that's a rich, wealthy white girl that's a socialite, you know, like Paris Hilton type, you know, that does stupid stuff to get famous.
Right.
And they create a bond, and that bond turns out into betrayal. So when they step out, when they get out of prison, you know, it's a betrayal involved, and it's a good twist. It seems like it's a love story, but it's a good twist at the end. I don't want to spoil it, but that's a book.
I'm all in. Like, what happened next? Don't stop now. I gotta figure out what happened. Don't stop.
Yeah.
Now, how do you come up with your plots and your storylines? You seem to be very creative. You seem to be like you're mixing in your past life with some future stuff. How do you sit down and pull this all together?
Well, sometimes, you know, it's just a little note or a dream or whatever, maybe. But with Black Ballerina, somebody came to me. He said, hey, you should write a book on identity theft. I said, okay. And then I turned my head and I see on TV a reality show, like a Kim Kardashian stuff. And I said, okay. And I said, I want to make it a love story. And them three elements basically what brought back Ballerina together, because she's in jail for identity theft. And
Mm,
that's what gets her knocked off again, set up again, is
mm,
identity theft. So it tells all into it. And then the reality star is the antagonist. So
mm-hmm.
so I just pieced it all up. And then, then with Ava's song, it was a letter on the board, and it said something about a little girl. All she wanted was for Christmas was some cards for her and her sisters, and she was going through cancer. So I made a story out of that, and it just brought on Ava's song,
Oh,
which I
nice.
changed. Yeah. So
Nice.
it be little things like that.
Definitely. No, now, obviously, you don't subscribe to the stereotype that black men don't write nor read. What?
Mhm.
Are you find it challenging to speak to other black men or men in general about writing when you involve writing about emotions and telling stories and create and being creative? Do you find other men who write like you, or are you usually running by yourself?
Like I said, I'm out here in California by myself. Like I ain't really met nobody, but I know by doing time, a lot of people did read and write all
Hmm.
the time. That's basically what most of the man that I don't know if they do it out here as much,
Hmm.
or I ran into people who always ask me like, "Well, you can write my story," but I ain't never heard no man talking about they'll read, you know. But I'm sure it'll be out there.
Yeah, it is. It is a misnomer. We are out there. We do read. I write. I've written several books myself.
Yeah.
Um, it's not my druthers. I'm a speaker. I'd rather get on stage and talk about it. But I do have books because you kind of have to in this game. It just as you will probably need to get out and start speaking about what you do and why we should listen to you. You have a platform where you're mixing with your fitness and whatnot. But that's a great story. So tell me about EMP, your company, EMP Evolution Minded Publication.
That's me. It's called Evolution Minded Publication for a reason, because I always write in different genres.
Hmm.
Like I don't just write in one genre. I write in all of them. Like you can get the feel good story, and you can get the zombie story. You can get the supernatural ability, and you can get a vampire story out of me. I'm writing in everything,
Mm.
and I'm keeping it like everything. That's why I had to. When I grew up, I was the only child till I was 15. I was born on my mother's birthday, so I always felt that I was a gift anyway.
Hmm.
So I always had that imagination, like always creating different storylines as a kid. So me opening my imagination and then going through life, the reality of it, like the realness of it, like seeing it. My mom's on drugs and, going through the streets and going through prison. I had to understand that it's a reality to balance my imagination. So my stories always have substance in them. I'm
Hmm.
not writing nothing without substance. It's not just gonna be like kill, kill, bang, bang. I'm gonna talk about social issues. I'm gonna tie in something.
Hmm.
Like every story gonna have something to make you think like, yeah, this is reality as well. I don't care if it's a zombie story, whatever it may be.
Hmm.
You're gonna always be substance, and that's what Evolution Minded Publications is.
Nice. Any of your books you think will make it to film or to a play?
And that's the point. That's what I write, film. Like, I, I my first line of writing came in script writing. That's how I learned
Hmm.
from my father. Like, I didn't know how to write a book. I just started writing a book, but I first form. So when I write my books, they more like movies. So that's the whole point. Like, that's
Okay.
what I'm trying to get to is movies. That's how I see them.
Hmm.
And they easier to transfer into movies because that's how I write them already,
Okay.
you know.
Definitely, definitely. So now what else is up for you down the road? I think you got your revolving doors project. When's that projected to come out?
That's projected March. I'm trying to get out for Black History Month because my story,
Mhm.
It's based on my thoughts. It's not just a biography. It's based on my thoughts of my when I'm on my last day of getting out of prison, like
Mm.
takes you through my emotions, and it talks about what I went through from past to past, and what made me and how my mind changed over the years. So I don't do the revolving doors. I don't go out here and come out and go back in. So that's something that I'm trying to get out because it's my story. And like I said, it's got a lot of teaching in it and a lot of things I can speak on, especially about the drug addiction for being a drug dealer
Hmm.
and just the rehabilitation of prison. Like we can do better, you know, we
Nice.
can do better.
Well, my brother, I appreciate you and congratulations on your journey and your tenacity to write books and come out and turn your tragedy into your trajectory to keep moving forward. Um, where can people find you? Where can they go get your books? Where are they at? Tell me what it is. Make sure we'll put it in our show notes. Where can they find you?
Well, you can find me on evolution minded publications.com. That's my website. You can hit me on World Challenge Fitness uh, on Instagram, uh, Javar Henry on Facebook. You can hit me there. That's
Okay.
where I'm at so far.
Well, sir, you're welcome on this platform anytime. Like I said, he's gonna be in the Women of Power issue with his books. We got his books in the magazine. We'll have the links there for you to go support this brother. He's out here definitely doing some positive work. And my platform is always open, good brother. When you get your revolving door, come on. I'd love to have you come on King Conversation, where it's a conversation between us and other men. We can have a further conversation about you, your life, your book, and you continue to inspire people. I'm excited to have met you.
You too, my brother.
All right, everybody, that's it. That's it. And remember, as always, if you can reach your dreams with the step ladder, then they're probably too low.